Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars. I'm Dan, and today we are looking at this Pineworld biometric safe. Now, I've had this safe in my possession for about 3 months now. I've really put it through the ringers, and I can honestly say this is hands down the coolest piece of tech and the coolest firearm accessory that I have had the pleasure of reviewing all year long. If you want to find out why, you better stick around. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. Now, I've owned more than a few quick access bedside handgun safes over the years, mostly because in my younger adult single years, I was actually the victim of a home invasion. It's one of the reasons why I'm super pro Second Amendment. Had my roommate not been home that day, I would not be alive to tell the tale. Had I had a firearm, would have made a big difference in convincing that assailant to leave. Now, all that to say, I'm a family man now with a wife and young children, and I want security in knowing that my kids are not going to be able to access my firearms. Yes, I have told them all the firearm safety rules till they are blue in the face, but what it comes down to is my eyes are not always on my gun safe, and I want to know that my guns are secured. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and skip over the basic details like passcode access. I'm even going to skip over the amazing biometric access. We'll talk about that later. And instead get into what really makes this safe so special. And that is the ability to connect to Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's right. This safe has a built-in Wi-Fi module. You can download the Tuya Smart app and you will get alerts and notifications if anyone is trying to tamper with or access your safe. Okay, every time that I punch in my key code, every time that I use my fingerprint to open it, I get a notification on my watch or on my phone that tells me that somebody has accessed my safe and how they have accessed it. Now, obviously, this is great for parents of young children. If you happen to be outside of the bedroom when your kid sneaks in and starts tampering with your safe, you get an immediate notification. You can walk in there and stop it. Now, obviously, this type of safe is just meant to keep honest people honest, right? So if an assailant breaks into your house and you are not home and they break into your safe and take your guns, you will get a notification on your phone or Apple Watch, but that's not going to do much to stop the crime in progress, right? But what is helpful is, one, you're alerted. You can notify the police that someone's in your house that isn't supposed to be. And that's a lot better than finding out hours or days later whenever you're coming home. But two, you also have a data timestamp that tells you the exact moment when it happened. So for your police report or court date, you have some sort of evidence that tells exactly when the safe was tampered with. That's very important. Now, another feature that I love about this safe specifically, and there might be other safes on the market that have this particular feature, just not any that I've owned. If the safe is tampered with, there's a tamper alarm. Okay, that means that if the safe was pried open or opened in a way other than keypad entry or fingerprint, like say with the backup key, it sets off an obnoxious alarm. And let's say somebody gets scared and they try to shut it real quick, it still doesn't shut off the alarm. The alarm's going to keep running until you enter in a passcode or a thumbprint. So the tamper alarm will continue going off until someone who's supposed to have access to the safe comes and takes care of it. Another really cool Wi-Fi feature of this gun safe and the app is, let's say you store, your passport in this safe. And then let's hypothetically say that you live in Arizona and you drove all the way to California to go on a cruise, and you realize once you got to California that you left your passports at home in your gun safe. Okay, hypothetically, this is something that's actually happened to me. Now, if I had had this gun safe at the time, I could have granted my neighbor remote access to get in there, get my passport, and overnight it to me. Instead, I had to drive all the way back to Arizona, get my passport, drive all the way back to California, and get on the next cruise. But with this safe, all you gotta do is, get your neighbor on the phone, tell them to hold down the number 4, and then the app will prompt you. It says right here, click to open remotely. Click on that, click confirm. Bam, remote access for your neighbor. It's a one-time use thing, and I did it all without having to share my passcode or program a fingerprint for my neighbor. Okay, as soon as they close that up, no more access for them. Now, a personal pain point of mine, I had a Sentry safe that was battery powered, and the battery access was inside the safe, such as this, meaning that if the batteries went dead, I could no longer use the keypad to open it. And unfortunately for me, during one of my moves, I lost the key for the gun safe, therefore trapping an $800 firearm inside my gun safe. So, needless to say, I had to destroy my $200 gun safe to get out my $800 gun, and that was really unfortunate. Now, that's never going to happen with this safe because 1, I can actually monitor the battery level via the Tuya Smart app. 2, once it starts getting low battery, it will notify me when the safe opens that the batteries are getting low and that I need to change them. And 3, if all that fails, if I'm just not monitoring my battery usage, or if I just don't decide to replace it when it tells me I should, there's a third fail-safe, and that's this USB-C connection here in the front. You can plug in a USB-C cable as emergency power and operate the keypad or fingerprint as usual. That is absolutely stellar. In fact, you could set this up in your sock drawer with a permanently installed USB-C cable, and you would never have to worry about this thing not being powered when you need it. And the last reason why I feel like this is the best bedside gun safe that you can get right now is the price, okay? It's actually affordable. These things sell for $189 on Amazon, and actually if you look right now, they actually have a $20 off coupon, so you can actually pick up this bad boy for $169. That's a stellar deal for any biometric gun safe, much less one that has all the features that this one does. Now let's get into the sort of less exciting features of this gun safe. 1, it's made out of 10 gauge steel. That's extremely heavy duty, durable steel, and they did send me another one of these safes to torture test in a future video. So be subscribed to this channel so that you don't miss that video if you want to just see how tough this thing is. I mean, we're gonna run over it with Jeeps, we're gonna shoot it with guns, we're gonna do all kinds of crazy stuff. But hanging out in my sock drawer, banging around in my motorhome as we romp around the country, this thing has been more than durable. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you not only can access it via a key, you can also do it via a touchpad code or a biometric fingerprint. Now, the touchpad codes, you can have up to 50 codes. That means I could program an individual code for every member of my extended family and still have codes left over. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but I could. And obviously you don't have to. Right now, I only have 1 code programmed. For the fingerprints, again, you can program up to 50 fingerprints. That means that I could program all 10 fingers of everyone in my immediate family and still have fingerprint codes left over to spare. Again, don't know why I'd want to do that, but it's good to know that I could. I guess maybe if this is some sort of corporate security box and you want to be able to grant certain people access, you can also go back in and remove codes individually. You know, if somebody gets fired or demoted, they no longer have access. So there are some practical applications for having that much data storage inside. There's 2 modes, regular mode and silent mode. I always run mine on silent mode, but I can turn on regular mode if I want to. The reason... Successful. So the reason why I don't do that is 1, you can hear me punching in the code. And 2,
already unlocked.
It gives a weird already unlocked message every time it opens, which is why I turn that off. So you turn that off just by holding down the number 2 button, wait for it to tell you successful.
Successful.
See, silent operation. Now for the actual gun safe portion of this, it is really super cool. Okay, it's very spacious on the inside. As you can see here, I use it to store 2 full-size handguns with optics, with extended magazines, with weapon lights. And those 2 firearms fit in there, no problem. I also even have room for my weapon light charger. I really love Olight for this reason. They have their magnetic weapon light charger. You can feed it through these little spaces here in the back. Close the safe. Then when you go to access your gun, you know that your weapon light will always be charged, good to go. It breaks away free like that. This is not an Olight commercial, just a feature that I really like. And I have had bedside access safes that I've not been able to feed this charging cable through before. So it is a feature worth mentioning. Now also, if you're not storing this thing in a super confined area, there actually is a little access port in the back for your charging cable. So just another reason why this is such a well thought out design. Now, of course, on the bottom, there are holes drilled so that you can screw this down to a desk or a dresser drawer, or even attach it via a safety cable in your vehicle or something like that to prevent, you know, thieves from stealing the whole dang box and then opening it up later. Now back to storage space. Like I said, you can fit 2 full-size handguns in here. On Amazon, they advertise that you can fit 4 full-size handguns on here, and that is correct. if you stack them on top of each other. I personally would never do that, but as you can see, there's enough room for my Glock 17 custom build, my Canik TP9 SFX, and of course I still have room for my Canik's compact little brother, as well as a tricked out P365. Unfortunately, it's not quite big enough to fit my massive Taurus Judge Magnum, but I've also yet to find any bedside gun safe that can fit my Taurus Judge Magnum, unfortunately. But even though I personally wouldn't double stack firearms in a safe like this, you can do so in a pinch if you need to keep your firearm secure. Now, up until this point in the video, you've probably seen me open this safe quickly with my thumbprint, I don't know how many times. And that's the last thing that I want to talk about, is the fingerprint scanner on this thing is extremely reliable. It's the most reliable out of any gun safe that I've ever owned. In fact, in the early days, we had a Sentry safe, and I'm not throwing them under the bus. I know they do make some pretty good safes, but I had a Sentry safe that we had programmed for my friend's dad's fingerprint. And every time he tried to scan his fingerprint, it would not grant him access. But oddly enough, me and my friend both could access his safe with our fingerprints, even though we hadn't programmed ours. So that's how unreliable the technology used to be. Now, I can't say it's going to be 100% reliable for you because no technology is, but what I can honestly say is that it's been 100% reliable for me. Anytime I've put my thumb on the scanner, it opens. Not only that, 100% of the time that I've used a finger that I haven't programmed, it will not grant me access. While I typically wouldn't put my faith and trust in a biometric scanner ever, this one seems to actually be pretty good. That being said, if I ever go put in my thumbprint and it doesn't open for some reason, I'm not going to keep trying to fiddle with it. I'm just going to punch in the passcode real quick and get in there. Now, if you've been thinking this whole time that having a firearm safe that connects to Wi-Fi is a major security threat from cyber attacks, you know, like a hacker in a different country granting themselves access to your safe, that may or may not be a legitimate concern. But for me, a much bigger concern, like I mentioned earlier, I have young kids, and as they grow up, they may get curious, but even more so, they may have friends that are curious that are, well, let's just say, less informed about gun safety than my kids will be. So having the instant notifications that somebody is tampering with the safe far outweighs the drawbacks of having a safe that might be prone to cyber attacks. Now, I'm really curious to hear what you guys feel about this, so let me know in the comments if you think that's a fair trade or not. But for me, I feel like that's a much more likely scenario than a Russian or Chinese hacker trying to get access to my safe. I mean, who am I? I'm not like a FBI or government agency. But again, let me know in the comments if you disagree. I want to hear your thoughts on this. And remember, I'm going to be torture testing this in an upcoming video. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you're subscribed and click that bell notification. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I will see you in that next video.